I'm sure everyone has that one game. You know, that game you probably shouldn't like that much, where your fondness for it is based on how much you played it, not its objective quality. One of those games for me is Godzilla Destroyer All Monsters Melee for the Nintendo GameCube. Now, I absolutely love the GameCube. First, it was there with me for pretty much my entire life, since my birth, so I was introduced to gaming through Nintendo's lunchbox. But secondly, and most importantly, the lineup of games is top notch. Mario Sunshine, two Zeldas, two Metroids, plenty of great Sonic games. You can fight me on that. So many of Nintendo's franchises got to shine in this thing, and the third party support wasn't bad. There was little of it, but a lot of it really was pretty good quality. And one of those was this Godzilla game. If you know me in real life, or even took a look at this channel, you probably know how much the Godzilla franchise means to me. So having this gem was such a treat for me at a young age. This game is kind of seen as like one of those games that doesn't have much substance to it, but while they're not necessarily wrong, I feel like it's much better as a fighting game than most people seem to think. So here I'm going to go through my personal history of this game and talk about why it's a hidden gem on my favorite Nintendo console. So my story with this game started in a mall in New Jersey. I lived in the Bronx, but we went to the Garden State Mall. Me, my mom, my dad, and my brother went to the GameStop around the food court, and I came across this Godzilla game, the exact copy that you see before you. I wanted it so badly, but my dad declined. So there I was eating chicken nuggets in the food court, sad because I couldn't get that kick-ass game. And my dad said he needed to go somewhere, so he went off to do whatever he needed to do. But when he came back, he surprised me with a gift. He came back with a copy of Godzilla I just saw an hour before. I was so happy, and it's one of my most cherished childhood memories. Man, I played this bad boy for countless hours. Countless. I mean that. And I still do. This game is so goddamn fun. So let's talk about the premise. The premise of this game is that the Vortec aliens want to invade Earth, and they send out Earth's monsters to destroy humanity. That's about it. You take control of your monster and go to town on the monsters invading Earth's cities. By the end, you're met with Mechagodzilla, oddly being Mechagodzilla 2 despite being in control of aliens like the first Mechagodzilla from 1974, instead of the military like the 1993 film. He's cheap. Really cheap. Anyway, let's get back on track. At first, you only have three monsters unlocked: Godzilla 90s, Anguirus, and Megalon. Megalon is pretty shit, but we'll talk about that once we get to the roster, which is right now. Roster.
Me llamo Jeff.
Godzilla 90s. He's essentially the default Godzilla. He's one of the best characters in the game, just because he's so well rounded. Kinda like Mario in Super Smash Bros. His design is slightly stylized, but that's the case with all of them. He has what I prefer to call the definitive campaign. That's just because I played as him most, so I recognize the order of opponents pretty easily. Godzilla 2000. I personally think that he's much better than Godzilla 90s, but he's really just a better controlling clone of him. Not much to say here, but he's my main. Anguirus. He's a pain in the ass to deal with. His defense is pretty damn good, with his backside being all spiky and whatnot, and his short stature makes him quick and effective in dodging projectiles and buildings. Megalon. He's dog shit. Gigan. He's pretty okay, mid-tier maybe, but he's extremely swift and speedy. However, grabbing and stuff similar to that nature can be really slow due to his hook arms. Rodan. He's extremely sensitive and weak as fuck, but he makes up for it with fast flight and attacks that send the opponents flying. King Ghidorah. He's one of my personal favorites to play as. He's a heavyweight, so it's hard to take him down with ease. His brute force is what's so enthralling about playing with him. Destroya is essentially the best character in the game. He has the most cheap moves, and is borderline overpowered. He's pretty fast, and taking advantage of his moveset is really easy. You can use his projectiles to fuck up your opponent when you're thinking of what to do next. It reels them in and just ruins their day instantly. He's a bitch. Mecha King Ghidorah. He's just a clone of Ghidorah, but lighter and therefore easier to control. Orga. He's literally a huge wrestler. I love that they gave him a fun, distinct identity like that. He's a pretty damn good heavyweight too. Pretty good package. To unlock him, you gotta beat everybody's story mode, and afterwards play as Godzilla 2000 on hard mode. Completing that character select was truly an accomplishment. Mechagodzilla. He's an asshole, and a little bit clunky. I never liked his design here. They're going for a Mechagodzilla 2, but his face looks so much more dopey and soulless in the actual suit. He looks a lot better in Godzilla Unleashed. Mothra is actually a power-up. You summon her if you get her icon, and she shoots her beams at your opponent to help you in battle. And Hedorah just flies around serving as scenery. He's cool, I guess. So, now that we've gone over the characters, I can safely say that the character selection is compact and well chosen. However, now we can talk about how fun this game actually is. Personally, fighting as the king of the monsters is already a done deal for me, but this game offers a lot of fun for casuals and lots of genuine skill for hardcore players. You can still get the basics of the game and fuck each other up fairly well with just the most basic moves, kinda like Smash. In fact, it's more of a mix of Smash and Street Fighter. You use the analog stick and move it in different directions to do specific moves, like an uppercut or charging towards your enemy. It's a perfect mix of casual fun and competitive strategy. Not as simple yet hard to master as Smash, and not as complicated and hard to learn as Street Fighter. You can have some heated battles using just your quick wit, blocking, and carefully timed attacks. It's such a wonderful experience. However, given the inherent balancing issues, some characters are simply just shit with defense and controls compared to the higher tier monsters. But that can be genuinely looked past if carefully played. Characters like Rodan, Megalon, and Geras can definitely hold their own if you really know what you're doing. It's genuinely a really well-made fighting game. Despite using buildings to damage each other, I think it can be played competitively if you really wanted to. It's not awfully deep like Street Fighter or Smash, but it's definitely a really well-made game. It's fast, fun, and the physics make the experience so damn satisfying. Getting to pummel your opponent here feels so good. It's definitely a game you can use to take out stress, but also, if you want to keep your mind genuinely active like most other fighting games. Top that with the fact that I'm playing as my childhood heroes and the monsters I grew up with, and that's a done deal. This game is just such a solid package. I think the only complaint I genuinely have that I think was improved was the presentation. The overall aesthetic of the monsters, menus, and surroundings is very unlikable. Everyone looks so stiff and plastic-like. Their animations can be clunky and sometimes it feels like they aren't even alive, like they're just puppets. The fiery-looking menus just look personally very generic and very boring. I wish it had menus and monster designs a little bit like Godzilla Save the Earth or Godzilla Unleashed. Graphics have nothing to do with it, it's the art style that they went with. It's just unlikable. It tries to be hardcore and overly badass, but it's so ugly that it doesn't really encourage you to try again after dying like Street Fighter or Smash. Those games have so much color and styles that are so unique that it makes you want to get back in the ring and kick more ass until you've won. Obviously balancing issues can be a little bit of a problem still, but other than that, I think those are the only complaints I actually have for the game. So, to me at least, this game is really special. I feel like it was outdone in certain aspects by the two sequels it got. Godzilla Save the Earth has a much better roster, more cities, slightly better graphics, and Godzilla Unleashed has a wonderful aesthetic, badass graphics, a killer soundtrack, and an expansive roster. However, although it's functional, it's definitely nowhere near as well made technically and mechanically as the last two. Despite their advantages, Destroy All Monsters Melee just plays so much better than both. The physics are better, the speed is better, it's just objectively speaking a better fighting game than the other two. I just wish it was presented better like its sequels. I personally feel like this is one of the best Godzilla games. There are some that are just as good, but this one is really the first mainstream Godzilla game. Most of the others at this point were either obscure or not even released in America, like Godzilla Kaiju Daikessen, which I think is one of the top 10, even top 5 Godzilla games. It's a traditional Street Fighter-esque 2D fighter that just feels so good to play, just like this one. A lot more people were exposed to this though. It could be because of the 1998 film making Godzilla more well known, but Since gaming was getting bigger and bigger, more people got to play this. I really appreciate it because of that, though I'm sure you know that there's a much more personal reason for me loving this game. This game is so much more than just a third-party fighting game to me. It's almost like a therapy session each time I play. No matter what I was going through in my life, no matter how many times I was in pain, or how much I felt like giving up on my dreams or schoolwork or even on others, I knew I could pick up that GameCube controller and play as my hero, the one and only king of the monsters. I knew I could escape into this world where nothing else mattered but beating my childhood monsters into a pulp as Godzilla, saving the world time and time again. Every time I played this, it filled me with such concentration and fun that when I was done, I felt better. No matter how badly my heart was broken or life was beating me senseless, I knew that playing this game made me feel better. This game has been with me for almost my whole life. It's filled my life with a lot of joy when I needed it, and I'm sure it'll be picking me back up for many years to come. To everyone who made this game, thank you. Sincerely. And to everyone watching, just know that there's always time to let loose, relax, and have some fun. This game is one of my favorites, and it always will be.